Guys. Oh, this is not fair. I think I've learned something today. By the way, greetings from the library cave. I am Aspen Dracaena, your friendly neighborhood Ice Dragon Bookwyrm VTuber, who chose to play a game tonight that just so happens to be in maintenance. Tonight of all nights. Of course. That's just how it works. So I have a poll up. It'll be up for like 10 minutes. 5 more minutes, something like that. I don't know. So, yeah. Of course, I choose a game that is in maintenance. So I figure, this is why. Now, I do keep several games up on my computer, so I have options just in case something like this happens. So, I have PowerWash Simulator, and I can play more Final Fantasy XIV. Now, I will be playing Final Fantasy XIV on Friday, which is fine. I can play more of it. I have a lot of leveling up to do, a lot of exploring to do. It's like the game that never ends. And I have PowerWash Simulator, which I played last week, and it was fun. And we can do that too. It's also good. There are plenty of good games for me to play. I even have some other games on my computer if we want to do something different. Hello.
Can83 just followed.
Hi, thank you so much for the follow. It's nice to have you here. You have shown up on a scuff day. Hi, Parsman. How you doing? So yeah. This is my life. This is reality of my life. I woke up this morning, did my exercise, took my shower, went outside the front door, and almost slipped and fell because we have sleet today, and there was ice as well as rainwater on my front steps, so I almost fell. Then I got in the car, I went to work, parked it, walked over to the front steps at work, and what should happen again? I almost slipped on the steps in front of the front door to my work. As one does. As one does. So yeah, and I was carrying a box, and of course the first thing I did when I got inside the door at work is I dropped the box. Luckily, nothing in it was breakable, but yeah. So today is Scuff Day. Today is Scuff Day. You know, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm alive, and that's important. At least I'm alive. We celebrate our small miracles. Had some interesting discussions with patients at the dragon doctor's office today. One of them was telling me about demons. One of it was our baker dragon at work. He comes by from time to time, and he was telling me that there are demons in his house. And I was like, okay, I'll go with that. So he was talking about how he was in bed and he felt a hand wrap around his foot and claws digging into his skin. And so he kicked his foot around and it went away. And I was like, okay. And then he talked about how he had a friend over who could see demons and told him that there were 2 demons in his house. One was a watcher that was a fallen angel. And the other one was a 5-foot-tall guy wearing a red and blue suit. He probably would have told me more, but I had to leave the room because the doctor wanted me to do something else. But yeah, that was an interesting story. That was a very interesting story today. Sometimes the patients just come in with the strangest stories. Yeah, Parsman, right. I agree. I agree completely with that emote with the big eyes. Yes, that is exactly it. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. We'll just go with that. There's some interesting people that show up at the Dragon Clinic. I think it's part of living in a small town. I think people get really eccentric when they live in small towns. I think it's just the nature of being in a small town. When you're in a big city, the city has so much personality that you don't have to have as much. When you live in a small town, oh boy, it's a competition to see who is the most unusual, the most bizarre, the most out of this world. So yeah, that was interesting. But you know, I like Baker Dragon when he comes in. He's very friendly. He made me an apple pie for Thanksgiving. I'm good with that. I'll put up with the interesting demon stories if he's going to make awesome apple pie for me. So, you know what? I'm not going to complain. And if there's a demon in the pie, then I guess I'll just eat it. You know, maybe demons are delicious. Who knows? Yeah. This is my life. But yeah, you know, as somebody who has spent a lot more time in recent years in living in bigger cities, living in a small town is a very interesting experience. That's one way to defeat a demon. Yeah, you know, I mean, if you bake a demon into an apple pie, I mean, apple pie is good. Hey, Gaspin, how you doing? We are trying to determine which game I should play right now because the game I chose to play is not available. It is in maintenance. Of course, it's in maintenance. Yeah, I'll have to play it next week, I guess. That'll be fine. That'll be good. We can do that. It's not a problem. I think the poll is almost run out. Anyway, yeah, so there are some really entertaining people who show up at my work sometimes, and I don't even know what to make of them half the time. I'm like, what? Most of the time, I'm just like, oh, so, how's the weather doing? Or what's going on your farm? Or, yeah, that building you're working on right now, how's it going? And then you get the baker with actual demons. Yep. Okay. Yep. So, that was my morning. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We have some really most of the patients we have at the Dragon Clinic are old. They're like elderly people. Very lovely, but a lot of these people are very lonely. So they have a lot of stories they want to talk about. So, now given Baker Dragon, I would not consider him old. He's more middle-aged. He's not elderly. He's middle-aged. He still has work. But yeah, I hear some interesting stories. And it looks like we're doing PowerWash Simulator. Perfect. I am going to change the stream information. Let's see. Enter title. Scuff Day Fun. Let's at least fix something and make it look pretty. Okay. And I'm going to change to PowerWash. All right. All right, let me get the game up. This music is making me sleepy. And I'll have to apologize too because, oh, hang on, let me switch and find my source. Game capture. PowerWash Simulator. Okay. There we go. Perfect. I was going to say something and I forgot what I was going to say. Let's see. What was I going to say? I don't know. I don't remember. I have no idea. So let's just play PowerWash Simulator. Okay, let's see. We are going to continue. We've got clean the bungalow, clean the playground, and clean the dirt bike. Then there's the in progress, which you don't have it in progress. I tried doing a Croft Manor. That took forever. So let's clean the bungalow. That should be nice. That's a cute little house. Okay. This is Calvin Miller's house, 113 Apple Avenue, Muckingham. Okay. Hey, Doc, I mentioned my folks? Well, I think it's time their bungalow met your pressure washer. It's so filthy it's hard to tell where the ground ends and the house begins. When I mentioned you to Ma, her eyes lit up. Pops moaned and said the browner the porch, the warmer the torch. What? Which clearly means nothing, so he's overruled. If you can give the place a good cleanup, I'm sure that'll give them both a lift. Thanks again, Cal. So Cal is the grandchild or child of Ma and Pops. Wait. Yeah. Child of Ma and Pops, not grandchild. Okay. All right. We're just going to do this game. We'll have some fun. Continue. Boy. Let's walk around first and take a look. How much do I actually... Gosh, this looks terrible. How's it... The backyard looks so nice, but the house looks, like, horrific. Okay. It looks like we're gonna have to do the roof too. Okay. Gosh, how do they even get light in the house from the windows? All right. There's a ladder. And there's a step stool. Let's see. The yard looks gorgeous. I know, it's almost ridiculous. Here, let's go on the roof first. And let's start from here. All right, let's see. Equipment. Okay. All right, and then let's see, Q. I should have paid attention to the okay. All right, so E. Oh, wait. Oh, 2, that was it. Let me get out that nozzle. Oh, Dolores Miller, I'm so glad you're here. Calvin's such a good boy. He's a volcanologist, you know. Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty cool, I guess. All right, let's get to work. Do. There.
Cast_iron_cat just traded with 10 views.
Oh my gosh, hi! How's it going? I hope you're doing well. I watched a little bit of your stream earlier.
Just followed.
Oh my gosh, thank you for the follow so much. I actually watched a little bit of your stream earlier today. I was at work and I had my tablet. So sometimes when I have my tablet, I will lurk in people's streams at work just because, you know, I have my tablet there, and even though I can't really actually watch, I try to give people a lurk at least. So, yeah. Thank you so much for the raid, though. Here, let me do a shout out. Just a sec. There we go. I'm taking a small break. I'll be back in a few hours, but I'm happy to bring my community over this way. I'll look out for them. We're just going to have a chill out day. Maybe I should tell the story about my the patient at work today who was telling me all about the demons in his house. That was really weird and interesting. So yeah, earlier I was telling chat while we were trying to decide what game to play, because the game I was going to play wasn't working. And I was talking about my funny stories this morning.
Death Wish 1150 just followed. Thank
you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. So this patient, this lovely patient of ours, he's a character. Like this guy is such a character. So he came in today. He's a baker. He's on his feet a lot, so you know, he has a lot of stuff going on with his feet and his back and everything. So the doctor and I, like, I'm do a lot of medical assisting stuff at work as well as front desk work. And so he comes in and he sits down at the table and he's like, okay, so I was asleep last night and I woke up and there was a hand gripping my foot and it was a demon. And the doctor and I were like, okay. He said, yeah, it was holding on to my foot and it was pushing its claws into my skin. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Sure, I'll go with it. You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, people, you just kind of have to go with it. So he was like, yeah, there are demons everywhere. And, you know, they're always watching us. There's these watchers and they're watching us. And, you know, they're trying to see what we do in case we mess up. You know, that they report on us. Because, you know, like, you know, when you die, there's only 2 places you really go. So if you're still around and you're not in one of either of those places, you're probably not a regular soul. You're probably going to be a demon. And I was like, okay, interesting. He's like, I don't know what you believe, but this is what I know. I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, I was like, okay. So he went on and said he had this friend who had come to his house once who can see these demons. And he said, yeah, the friend came over and said, oh yeah, I can see them. You have one. It's a woman. She has dark hair, and she's a fallen angel. Okay. And then there was another one, and this other one is 5 feet tall, and he was a man. He's 5 feet tall, and he was wearing a red and blue suit. And I wanted to listen to the rest of his story, but the doctor needed my help with another patient. And so I was like, okay, good luck. We could talk more about demons later. Okay? I was like, this is so interesting. And, you know, I'm not somebody who generally likes, I try not to make fun of people. And, you know, people are going to have their beliefs. And I'll respect that everybody has their beliefs, you know. We you know, we all have different ways how we view the world. That's fine. You know, and some beliefs come from a place of knowledge, and some beliefs come from a place of faith, and, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to be a jerk about these things, essentially. I think I need to do this. There we go. So, yeah, that was a very interesting experience this morning, talking to the patient about his demons, because I was not expecting that today. That was not on my bingo card today. I wasn't sure what I would be hearing, because he never talked about stuff like that before. But yeah, that was really interesting. So, yeah. This is the Dragon Doctor's Office. We do things like chiropractic. There are 2 massage therapists in the building. Like, it's not a place where we're dealing with, you know, unusual stories like that all that often. So, yeah, that was really, really interesting. So, yeah, and then somebody else was talking about something interesting today. What was that? Huh. Let me see if I can remember. Oh, and I posted, actually, I know a way to find out, because I posted a tweet about it on, or rather posted a post about it over in, let me see if I can find that. Give me just a moment. What did I post? Oh, yes. That was it. There was another patient who's a historian. And we were talking about cemeteries. And she's like, she knows all the, like, history about all the cemeteries in the area. And that was also something I wasn't expecting to talk about. But it was less creepy and more interesting, because she was like, talk about the different families in the area, and, you know, there's certain cemeteries where certain families have been buried, and, like, they have these big plots, you know, for famous people in town and stuff. And, you know, I'm not somebody who is super impressed by fame, so I was just kind of like, oh, this is interesting, learning a little bit more about the town and, about the people in it, because I'm not originally from here at all. So, yeah, it was kind of cool. We were talking about the area I live in is a pretty old area, like lots of older settlers of the U.S. And so there's a lot of interesting old houses and, not like fancy, like modern houses, but, old Victorian houses and stuff. Yeah, some local knowledge is nice to know, and it's actually helpful because sometimes people come in and they expect me to know their families, and I'm like, I'm not from here. I've lived here for, 8 years now, but I'm not from here. I don't know all the families. And it's like the families, like in capital, quotation marks, everything. There are literally families that have feuds here with each other, like the Hatfields and McCoys. And I feel like I didn't get these fully cleaned. I did not. So, like, it's interesting. Like, I find it very interesting when people, when there's so much history in an area that their entire families that won't speak with each other because at some point or another some ancestor made another ancestor angry, and then that's where they are. Everybody's angry at each other. So, it's interesting. I just tend to be like, I'll just mind my own business. I am city girl. I will mind my own business. Everything's good. Okay, there's a lot of spots here that I have not gotten. It's so funny that I'm playing this game right now because I was in another friend's stream last night as he was playing this. So, I should mention, I haven't talked about this much. So I'm kind of part of a very casual, impromptu kind of group of VTubers. It's nothing super professional or anything. It's just a bunch of us that are friends who know each other. And we all share a Discord because, in a way, it's a little bit easier. We can, moderate for each other. And it's not like we have super huge followings yet. So, it just makes it a little bit easier on all of us to, share a Discord and chat with each other and with people who come to our streams that way. So anyway, and it's called VFable. We do have the Discord, and I think I have it linked there somewhere on my About Me. And so we have somebody new in the group, and that is my really wonderful friend who I met through Voop Chat named Panda. Because he was looking for some of his viewers were like, well, do you have a Discord? And he's like, I don't have one yet. And he and I talked about it. I'm like, if you really want to, you can join our Discord. And that way it's a little bit easier because you don't have to moderate quite as much. Okay, I think I got this side of the roof. And we could all kind of help each other. And, it's pretty chill. It's not the most exciting happening place yet. But sometimes it's a little easier to grow when you're doing it as a team. So Panda Hiroru is my very lovely friend. And he has joined us in VFable in our Discord. And he and I will be playing Frostpunk tomorrow, or rather, I will be playing Frostpunk tomorrow, and he will be teaching me how to play because he loves that game, and he told me that I should play it. And I'm like, I am not going to let a friend down. I will play said game because you recommended it, and it was on sale. Because, you know, games being on sale, that helps. I will happily play a game that I found for a ridiculously wonderful sale price. If it's on sale for a ridiculously wonderful sale price. I think it was only like a couple bucks. So I am going to learn how to play Frostpunk tomorrow. And that'll be fun. So yeah, and I will also be making my matcha cheesecake tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And, oh, press the wrong button. So, if I press buttons incorrectly a little bit tonight, it's because, so I think I've mentioned it a little bit. I get eczema. It's specifically when I'm under stress. I have another health problem that kicks in because of stress. But eczema is the most obvious one issue that, you know, like you can actually see it. So I've had this spot of eczema on my left middle finger knuckle for like 6 weeks. And I thought it was healing. And you can only put the ointment on your skin for a certain amount of time because it does thin your skin. The last place you want thin skin is around a knuckle. So I kind of had to stop using the lotion. And right now the skin is cracking on my knuckle on my left hand. So I have a bandage on it, and I have like antibiotic ointment to try to help at least, you know, let that heal a little bit first, and then see if I can try some kind of home remedy that won't make my skin get really thin and easy to crack like it has. So yeah, I'm using my middle finger right now. So yeah, if I press a button wrong, this is probably a good thing I'm playing this game tonight, because it's not going to kill anybody if I press the button wrong. So yeah, I'm trying to fix that up. Eczema sucks. And it's like, in this case, it's so weird. I don't have any other spots on my body right now with the eczema. It's just like my knuckle is like dragon scale ahoy. It's just really unpleasant and it hurts. So, you know, not fun when stress turns your body inside out. So, you know, hopefully everything will be fine and it'll all heal up. Maybe I should get some extra sleep to help my body recover from the stress. It'll be good. Okay. It's hard to get a good angle over here. I wonder if there's something stronger for dragon skin. You know, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, I try to use good stuff on my skin anyway. Like, Eucerin is pretty decent stuff. Like, Eucerin is universally pretty good stuff on your skin. It doesn't have a lot of weird, like, additives and stuff in it. It's pretty decent. It's not gonna mess up anything. Ooh, okay. I actually got something fully clean. All right. Let's see. But yeah. Such is my life. So I've been trying to practice my singing a little to see how my voice has adjusted with all the talking I do on stream. because I'm not used to in person speaking all that much, because most of the time I spend my time being pretty quiet, reading books, you know. I don't spend a lot of time talking. I'm more of a listener, which is probably why I get told stories like about demons from patients who come into the dragon clinic. I will cherish that story forever. But yeah. So my throat is still adjusting to this. I actually made sure to get some throat spray today because I think cough drops are a little bit of a stopgap and they don't really do much that's all that helpful. They're just there, and it's a lot of sugar, and I don't like to eat too much sugar. If I'm going to eat sugar, I want it to be some yummy dessert, not cough drops. So, yeah, we'll see if that works. But I was practicing singing in the shower because it's good to sing in the shower. You have all that steam. It kind of helps your throat a little bit. And, you know, I was trying to think of what, if I do a karaoke stream, what kind of karaoke stream would I want to do? I did not mean to do that. Okay. Oh, we're going back up. Okay. All right. Okay. We're good. Do. And we're back. Okay. All right. That's actually a really good angle. Nice. But I can't see past the power washer nozzle. There we go. So yeah, I was practicing some Disney songs. What else was I practicing? I like a lot of jazz music, like Ella Fitzgerald, kind of jazz standards. So I was singing some of those. That was an interesting sound. Anyway. So yeah, I was thinking about, should I do like when my throat's ready for it, should I do a themed karaoke stream or just sing whatever I feel like? It might be fun to do a theme, like a Disney show tune theme night, or I could just, you know, do some fun classics, or just, you know, songs that I like, some that I maybe might not even be good at. I can tell you this, for some reason, me and Katy Perry songs do not mix. For some reason, I cannot sing her songs and sound in any way good. I don't know, maybe it's because she's more of a belter than I am. But yeah, Sing What My Heart Desires. Yeah, I think that might be good. But if I did that, I'd probably just sing the entirety of Into the Woods. And I will sing every character in Into the Woods. That would be funny. Could be the witch and the princesses and Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf. But I'm not sure I have the range to do every character. I have a pretty wide singing range. I'm a mezzo-soprano. So I have like maybe a 3.5 octave range, which is pretty decent. Like, you know, most people have, you know, a couple of octaves. So I have enough of a range to do some stuff that's more alto and some stuff that's more soprano. But Yeah, I'll have to think about it. See, Disney songs would be easy because I learn them really quick. I think Disney songs purposefully, they write them so they're easy to sing. So that might be good. But, oh my gosh, I love some of the songs that there's so many good musical theater songs. And I like to sing in character because I have a lot of training in musical theater. So it'd be kind of fun to show how I can change my voice for different kinds of characters. I think that would be really fun. So maybe we'll do that. I'll see if I can ask Human Ant for some recommendations because, let's see. Oh, there's a little there. Because Human Ant, well, one of my human ants, is a professional actress and she's done a lot of musical theater. So it might be fun to ask her for advice. There are times when I wish I was trained more classically, like in doing opera music. I'm not that good. I am impressed by opera singers. They are incredible. But, yeah, I am not that trained. I've only had like 2 years of voice lessons, and I just sing because I feel like singing most of the time. But, you know, it does help a lot that I studied piano because it does make it a lot easier when you already know a lot about music. Like, you know, things like pitch and tone and octaves and music theory stuff. And then learn how to sing. You already know all the necessary stuff you need to know, and then it's just everything else comes a lot more easily. I don't know, do any of you in chat, do you have any like musical skill, like any musical instruments you've studied, or I'd be curious to know. Like it amazes me how talented so many VTubers are who are out there. It's like, I think what it is a lot of VTubers are people who have a lot of talent, but they just haven't found an outlet for it. And, you know, maybe they wanted to, I don't know, be a pop star, or they wanted to act, or they wanted to do, you know, art, and there was never really a situation where they were able to do that in a professional capacity. So they decided to stream. And it's so cool that we have these options now, you know. You have no musical talent. Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, you know, you don't have to have musical talent to appreciate good music, though. I will say that. I mean, like, there are things that I cannot do with my voice that I hear some people do, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? That's amazing. I will tell you, I did study guitar for about a year. It is not a good instrument for me. I am pretty terrible at it. Like, I understand, like, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you play it. But, like, I don't know. I when I play the piano, I feel like I can really access my feelings and make something that sounds really beautiful if I want to. But with the guitar, it just feels very mechanical. I don't think it's not really the right instrument for me. Although I wish it was, because it'd be nice to have a more portable musical instrument that I'm good at. Okay, I think this side's pretty good. Okay, now let's take care of this mess. But yeah, I really admire how much talent there is in not just the VTubing community, but streaming community in general. Sometimes people just surprise me. They'll be like, oh yeah, well, you know, I guess everybody else does karaoke streams. I guess I'll do one. And then they do one and their voice is stunning. And it's like, why weren't you doing this? You know? At one point in my life, I really wanted to learn to do animation. And reality is, I got so into music and theater that I kind of just didn't practice art. And so I never got to any really great point with talent in art. But yeah, that's something that'd be fun to work on too. Maybe do a stream where I can follow a tutorial or something and try to see if I can build some skills in that arena. I almost missed that. You know, this is a cute little neighborhood. Nice little cul-de-sac. Nice mountains in the background. Really huge mountain in the background over there. I hope that's not, you know, Mount Vesuvius over there and it's going to destroy Pompeii after I clean this, because I'd be very disappointed. It was Mount Vesuvius, right? I'm trying to remember. I'm usually pretty good with history. But that is, you know, I may be an old dragon, but Pompeii was before my time. Why am I having a hard time? Okay, stop. Oh, I think it's because I'm crawling. Yeah. Okay. This roof is hard to work with. I will say that. So yeah, the other day I tried the Croft Manor expansion. Oh my god, it took me the entire day. I was joking with friends. I was talking with them, chatting with them in Discord while I was playing it, and I was like, you guys, this is Cousin Laura's house. Or Cousin Laura's house, rather. Not Laura, Lara, because it's Lara Croft. I was like, Cousin Laura better pay me well for this job, because I am working my butt off and I still can't get this place clean. It is dirty. And why is it that Cousin Laura has all this money and she can't keep her house clean? Like, seriously, like, she doesn't have to be there all the time. You know, she can go on her little adventures in Egypt. You know, that's fine. Wait, no, is it clean? Is that okay? Is that good? Is that good? Oh, here. So I kept joking. Yeah, Cousin Laura, she's gonna pay me well. She's gonna bring back a mummy for me, because she was in Egypt. I was like, yeah, she's gonna pay me in mummies. I hope she appreciated all the hard work I did on her house, because, man, filthy. Lara Croft, not just filthy rich, but filthy. A mummy, yes. You know, that way I can set it up in the library cave. And, like, if somebody tries to break in, I can set it up so it pops out and scares them away. And that way they can't steal my books. I can't have anybody stealing my books. That would be horrible. Which reminds me, I have a few books I need to order that I've been meaning to buy. I'm trying to think of the next person I want to interview too, because I don't just have to do authors from Balance of Seven. I can interview other authors too. And I don't know if you guys have any writers or artists that you would like to see me interview. I probably can't contact big people, and I kind of want to keep things to, smaller creators who don't necessarily get things like interviews. But if there's anybody you want me to interview who's like a creative person, it doesn't just have to be authors too. I can see what we can do. I can look into some things. It might be cool to interview some game developers as well. I mean, I'm not big enough yet that some of the bigger game developers would even know who I am. But, a lot of the smaller developers are in the same boat I am. So, they might like having a smaller audience to have their first interview with. Okay, let's see. There. I think this side is done. Oh no. It's got a couple spots. Let's see. I think this is fairly good. Okay. So that side looks good. And that side looks good. I know I went through all of that and checked. Did the white glove test, you can say. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna say that the roof is done for now. Alright. Here, I'll just jump down. Geronimo! It's nice that you can't die in this game. Alright, let's get to work on this area. So I don't know how many people watching right now are in the US. Oh, there's an ad starting soon. Just want to warn you guys. Does anybody have any fun, like, Thanksgiving experiences they've had? I have a couple of really weird ones. I'll probably talk about them after the ad break. But yeah, I have some very funny experiences with Thanksgiving. Two in particular that are pretty odd. But that might be fun to talk about. Or like, does anybody have any favorite kind of Thanksgiving food that they like to eat? I know for me, sometimes like I don't always like all the traditional stuff. Okay, Calvin Miller. Ma keeps messaging me. They're getting really excited with how it's looking. Sounds like it's going great. All I did was the roof. That was not exciting. I mean, not like people are looking at roofs unless they're dragons and they're flying over. All right. Oh, wrong key. Stuffing, hands down. So everybody usually go with ham. So many turkey years ago got me queasy. You know, I can respect a good stuffing. And I can understand going with ham. You know, still decent. I think it's still a good choice. You know, I've had, gosh, 1 year, I think we had quail instead of turkey. That was interesting. Or was it game hens? Something like that. What else did we have? I'm not that into some of the like traditional stuff. Like candied yams. Who thought that was a good idea? I don't understand candied yams. Especially when they put the marshmallows on them. I don't get it. I think because this is such a chill game, I'm probably not going to really stop during the ads as much as I do for games that are like have more story. I mean, mostly it's just, you know, cleaning stuff. But I might stop to grab some more water in just a sec. Okay. You know what? Here. I'll be right back. Okay. So I realized I actually have three. I realized I have 3 stories, 3 Thanksgiving stories. Okay, and 2 of them kind of go together. So one of them, the first story was quite a few years ago. We went to me and human family went to have Thanksgiving at human mother's parents' house, so human grandparents' house. And the food was really good. I don't know what it was about the food that year, but oh my gosh, I was just like, I must eat everything. And I ate a lot. But you see, this dragon has a very sensitive tummy. There are some foods that I cannot eat very well and handle very well. And sometimes there are certain amounts of food that I cannot eat because it's just too much for me. My stomach doesn't like it. So I ate way too much and ended up eating myself sick, and I had to run to the bathroom, and I vomited, but I vomited so hard that I got a bloody nose at the same time. It was so embarrassing. I felt so awkward at the time. Like, now I think it's funny. But back then I was so embarrassed because it was like my whole body was betraying me, and I just could not handle the food. So I learned a lesson then. When I was younger, I did have a bit of a dragon's appetite, for sure. Nowadays, it's a little different. But yeah, I vomited all over the place so hard that I got a bloody nose. That was not pleasant. But I learned from that experience. I do not overstuff myself at holiday meals now. I know there are people who seem to make a sport out of doing that, but to me it's like, no, I'm not going to put myself through that again. I don't like vomiting. I think it's just very uncomfortable. I'd rather not vomit. I don't like feeling nauseous. It's not something I feel good about. Like, I don't even drink enough to get a hangover because I don't like vomiting that much that I don't care if I don't get drunk. I'm not interested in getting drunk if it means I have to vomit. So I don't like it at all. So yeah, that's why I rarely drink. So, second story. In a way, it's related to it because it happened the very next year. So, that year, the next year, I was more careful. I chose what I was going to eat a little more carefully. And I was fine. I did well. My tummy was fine. Everything was good. I was very proud of myself that I didn't mess up again. So the whole, me and the whole human family sat down to watch a movie. We watched the old movie Some Like It Hot. I don't know if you guys know that movie, but it's a classic. Very much so a classic. And we were all just kind of hanging out, watching the movie in a turkey-induced stupor. And then, so human grandparents had a dog. Her name is Lady Gemini. She's a huge a huge German Shepherd. Very, very kind of skittish, actually. She was a very sweet dog, but she had a very she was a little odd. She had an experience when she was, still a bit of a puppy, where she had, somebody had given her a bone, and the bone got stuck somewhere in her jaw, and it was very painful. It made her kind of neurotic, that whole experience. So, of course, don't give bones to dogs. Be very careful about that, because they can, get the bones stuck in their jaw, and that really hurts them. Get those bones that they have at like pet stores that are actually not bones. Those are better for them. But anyway, so Lady Gemini was a little bit neurotic. So while we were all hanging out, relaxing, half asleep from the turkey, watching Some Like It Hot, Lady Gemini went outside. And she was having some kind of blast. Everybody was just relaxing, not really paying attention to the dog. And right near the end of the movie, she came back inside, and she stood right in front of the TV, and everybody started yelling, "Oh my God, get out of the way. Come on, dog, get out of the way." Everybody was like just annoyed. She opened her mouth, and guess what she did? Remember, I mentioned this story. It was related to the first story. So what Lady Gemini had been doing outside was she had been nibbling on grass for some reason. So she stood in front of the TV when she got inside, opened her mouth wide, and vomited up green grass vomit on the floor right in front of the TV. And we were all just completely disgusted. It was just hilarious, because it became this thing. It was like, who's gonna vomit this year? let's take bets now. Whose turn is it to vomit? Because it was already Aspen's turn. And that was Lady Gemini's turn. Whose turn next? So yeah, I guess I have a lot of Thanksgiving memories associated with people being sick. Our dogs, our dragons. And sick in some very bizarre ways. Okay, and then my third Thanksgiving story. So when I first moved to where I live now from California, I was helping Human Brother start his sheep farm. And I know it probably seems kind of weird, a dragon helping start a sheep farm, because you would think dragons would probably be stealing the sheep, and it would be useless to have a dragon on a farm. We'd eat all the sheep. The plus thing is I'm not really into eating lamb all that much, so, it was probably, a good choice to have me help out starting the farm. I wasn't going to do anything to the sheep. But the first year we were there, Human Brother was trying to figure out some other thing to grow or raise in order to make enough income for the first year, because with the sheep you have to grow them and raise them, and then get them to the point where they can have babies, and that's when you start selling lamb. And the sheep he bought were not lambs, they were full-grown adults. So he couldn't sell anything the first year when it came to the sheep, unless he wanted to sell, yarn, or rather, not yarn, but wool for the yarn. But that wasn't really what he was interested in. So he decided that he was going to, for the first year, raise some turkeys. Now, I had to deal with those turkeys all year. And let me tell you something about turkeys. Okay? Turkeys are mean. They are not cute, sweet, friendly creatures. They are mean. They don't care if you're the person who is feeding them. They will attack you anyway. They don't care. They don't care about being nice. They every time I would go to bring their feed out to them, and I would open the little hatch in the turkey tractor to get the food in, they would peck at my knuckles every single time. They're just not very nice animals at all. So, you seen that video of the turkey chasing that lady? Yeah. Turkeys are not like I know some people are afraid of chickens, and I'm like, no. You think chickens are scary? Turkeys, because first of all, turkeys are huge. They're like 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times the size of a chicken. They are huge animals. And they're not exactly the prettiest animals either. Like, they have those weird necks, and they're loud when they make sounds. And they will peck at anything. And one of the things that bothered me the most about them, that actually upset me, is, so turkeys will, if they decide one turkey among them might be sick, or they just don't like that turkey, whatever, they will team up against that other turkey, and they will peck it to death. Like, they are brutal animals. They are so mean to each other. And I had a horrible experience of that once, where I had gone out to feed the turkeys, and the turkeys were in a state I went to see, and they were all chasing after one turkey and trying to peck it to death. So I had to get into the turkey tractor really quick and grab that one turkey away from the rest of them. And it was horrifying. The turkey that I rescued, was actually, they had pecked it so much that it ended up dying in my arms. It was horrible. I was just, it was just a brutal thing to be witness to. I had to grab the turkey, and I pulled it out, and I was trying to run it back to the barn, so we could help it in some way if we could. But and I was carrying it, and it had kind of snuggled its head into the crook of my arm, and it seemed like I could tell it was relieved. It wasn't being attacked anymore. But yeah, Parsimon, exactly. Those jerk turkeys deserve to be cooked. I will probably never be a vegetarian, but I will mostly eat a lot of vegetarian food. I like a lot of vegetarian food. I may be a dragon, but I don't feel like I have to eat meat all the time to have a good meal. But I will probably never be a vegetarian, because I have no qualms about eating turkeys, because they are mean animals. They are very mean animals. They're like miniature dinosaurs. That's how bad they are. They're just not pleasant at all. So that year, so Human Brother had gotten the turkeys to the point where he could sell them. And he sold them all over the place. He traveled around. He sold them to restaurants, to individuals, stuff like that. But he had extra turkeys because we were so good at taking care of them that more survived than he thought would survive. And so by the time Thanksgiving came around, he was like, you know, I'm not really too worried about selling those other turkeys. So I'm just going to leave the turkey tractor open. They can wander around the property. It'll be fine. No. It was not fine. Because in the middle of the night, I woke up. And so, you know what hyenas sound like, right? Like, we've all seen movies like The Lion King and stuff. And the hyenas, when they're a big group of them and they're like ready to attack, they sound like they're laughing. So there's another animal that does that too, that is native to the U.S. When coyotes are running around and attacking and stuff, they make kind of a laughing kind of sound too. It sounds like this kind of crazed laugh. It's really creepy. And so in the middle of the night, I woke up to hear the sound of the coyotes, like yelping and howling and making all kinds of noise. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Why are they so excited? So there had been like maybe couple, like not a couple dozen turkeys, less than that. Less than 20, I would say, that had been left. And my brother, Human Brother, forgot to put them back in the turkey tractor. He just left them outside. And almost all of them, the next morning I went outside and there were turkey feathers all over the place. Everywhere. Probably maybe less than a handful of the turkeys had survived. There was a huge attack from the coyotes, and they destroyed the turkeys. There were turkey body parts all over the place. It was horrifying. It was just one of the most awful things to see the day after Thanksgiving. It was just like all these bits and pieces, a random wing here, like a foot there. Like, it was horrible. So, considering how unpleasant the turkeys were, like, I felt bad for them, but I also felt kind of like, well, they're just not very nice animals. So, yeah, it was a learning experience, I would say. But yeah, it was not pleasant to see. And at that point, Human Brother wasn't going to raise more turkeys. He only raised the turkeys just because he wanted to make sure that, that we had some income for the time that before he could start raising the sheep. And at that point, we did have the sheep. And we had the guard dogs as well. Because, since there were coyotes around, we didn't want the coyotes going after. Looked like there was something behind here. Hang on. Wait. No. Okay. Post. Wait. Post? Huh. It said there was something. Wait. Post. Let's see. Okay. On this side. There we go. All right. So yeah, the at that point we had finally gotten the guard dogs, who are hilarious dogs, by the way. And so because we had the guard dogs, they could guard the sheep, and the hyenas would try to come after the sheep, but because of the guard dogs being what they were, the hyenas never really got the sheep. They tried a few times, but I think the dogs eventually scared them off. Now, one interesting thing I've learned about farms is one way to keep hyenas away, or not hyenas, coyotes away, get a donkey. Apparently, coyotes are terrified of donkeys. I don't know why. I guess donkeys are very protective or something. But yeah, if you ever have a farm and you want to keep coyotes at bay, get a donkey. That's all you need the donkey for. It's just coyote protection. That's all you need. Or, you know, some good guard dogs. Guard dogs are good too. And there are two kinds of dogs you can have with sheep. There's like the sheep herding dogs, or you get sheep guarding dogs. So sheep guarding dogs are more like, like Caucasian Shepherds, Grand Pyrenees. Pretty much they're dogs that are designed to fight off big animals. So like a Caucasian Shepherd could probably go up against a bear and survive. Which is crazy when you think about it, because bears are huge. Human Brother has Maremas. They are smaller than Grand Pyrenees. They look like a cross between, I would say, this is how I describe them. They're like a cross between a golden retriever and a polar bear. Like literally when they are puppies, they look like little polar bear pups. They're actually super cute when they're puppies. But yeah, his guard dogs are hilarious. You usually what you do is you raise the dogs with the sheep so that they think the sheep are their family. Because you don't need the guard dogs to be smart. You just need them to attack. So you don't train them to herd the sheep. You know, that's what you need like a border collie for. And border collies are very smart dogs. Maremas, they're not necessarily the smartest dogs. They're more like wild animals themselves. You don't train them. You just keep them in the meadow with the sheep. They're white, so they look like they fit in with the sheep until the predatory animals come, and then they're like, oh shit, and then they run away because the Maremas can be scary. They are very good guard dogs. The problem is they're also extremely cute. Oh, okay, Parsman, there's a video of a donkey that was missing for years, and they found it leading a pack of wild sheep. Oh, that's hilarious. I love that. That makes sense. Somehow that makes perfect sense. Oh. Ooh, I missed some spots there. Okay. So yeah. So Maremas they're just really funny dogs. They're huge. I'm about 5'6", not including my horns. And if the full-grown Maremas stand on their hind legs, like I've one of the Maremas is like my buddy. And one day, I hadn't been on the farm for a few months, and I was there one day, and she was just like in shock. She had missed me so much, and I went over to her, and she went on her hind legs, and I gave her a hug, and she was taller than me. I mean, 5'6", it's not super tall. I'll admit that. I am not the tallest person in the world. But in human form, I'm not the tallest person. But 5'6" isn't exactly short either. It's like a medium size. So yeah, the dog was about at least 6 inches taller than me on her hind legs. So these are not small dogs at all. They're pretty big. But yeah, so that one dog, she when she was a puppy, what she used to do is she would escape the barn in the winter. And these are dogs that like winter. She would escape the barn and then sit down right in front of the barn and wait for somebody to find her and bring her back in the barn. That's what she did. She did it almost every day, that dog. She would just escape and sit right outside of the barn and wait for somebody to find her and bring her back in the barn. It was very interesting, let's just say. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I meant to press that. Okay, looks like we're good there. Okay. So, yeah. And because there were 2 houses on the property, and I lived in the house that faced the barn, I was the one who saw her all the time when she escaped. So, of course, I was the one who would go and pick her up and put her back in the barn. And that is how we became good buddies. I would find the dog and pick her up and put her back in the barn. It became a thing until she was too big to pick up, because oh my gosh, those dogs grow fast. But yeah, she's really funny. So every time I go and see her, I always give her extra pats and big hugs. Even though, these dogs are pretty smelly. They live out on the meadow with the sheep, and they're not meant to be pets, so you don't really groom them as much as you would groom a house pet. They're just meant to be like, kind of almost like wolves in a sense. So yeah, that one dog, she's just hilarious. So yeah, actually my favorite story from the farm. I'm not sure if I told this story yet. This is a really funny story. So one year there was a little lamb who was born, and she thought she was one of the dogs. She did not believe she was a lamb. She thought she was a dog. And so she'd follow the dogs around all the time. And the thing you do, like as I mentioned before, when you raise these guard dogs, you raise them with the sheep so that they think the sheep are their family, so they'll protect it. Because if you don't raise them with the sheep, then they think the sheep are food and they'll attack the sheep. You don't want that. So yeah, you get the Maremas when they're puppies, and you raise them with the sheep. So the dogs, essentially, they think they're sheep as well. But because they have those instincts, like wolves do, where it's like, oh, this is, you have to take care of the pack, they will protect the sheep. Like they're a part of their pack. So, move back. So, this one year, there was this cute lamb. Like, she was the cutest lamb. So, the kind of sheep that Human Brother has on his farm, they're Icelandic sheep. And they aren't all the same color with their wool. Some are brown, some are white, some are black, some have any combination of colors, some are gray. They all have different colored wool. This one was so unique looking because it was like her wool grew in an ombre. So, like, the wool that would grow up, if you looked at her, it's almost like she had a layered haircut or wool cut where the wool on the upper part of her back was black. And then it was almost like a circle around her body. The next tier was brown. And then the tier after that was white. So her wool grew in just the weirdest pattern. I've never seen that. All the other ones would just have like random spots or whatever. But she was very cute. But she thought she was one of the dogs. So you raise the dogs to think that they're one of the sheep. But what ended up happening is this lamb decided she was one of the dogs. So one day I was out on the field. There's a section of the meadow that we had set aside to be like a garden so we could grow vegetables for ourselves. And I was spreading manure in the garden to get it ready for, growing something new. And the sheep were nearby. So I was just, getting the garden prepared and watching the sheep. And I was looking at the dogs. And the two dogs they were, hanging out with each other, watching over everything. At one point, they decided that they were going to play fight. So they started play fighting each other. The little lamb saw them play fighting, and I swear, the lamb must have just was like, oh my God, I must join. So the lamb ran over to them and started trying to play fight with the dogs. The dogs immediately stopped because, of course, they were raised so that they think they're related to these sheep. And you don't hurt the lambs, They're the babies. You don't hurt the babies, right? So they both stopped immediately. Like, I could tell. Like, you could see these dogs were smart enough. They may not be the smartest dogs in the world, but they were smart enough to know you don't hurt the lambs. So they immediately stopped. And they laid down and somehow convinced the little lamb to lay down in between them on the ground. And they just hung out like that for a little while. Watched the other sheep. Had some chill out time. They were all calm. And then the little lamb, I guess she was bored. Because what she wanted to do was play fight. So, at some point, after a few minutes, a big group of the other lambs walked by. And the little lamb, I kid you not, bolted straight up, ran over to the little lambs, the little herd of lambs, and started trying to play fight them. So it didn't even help that the dogs tried to calm the lamb down because she was determined. So she ran off and ended up beating up a whole bunch of other lambs. And at that point, I was laughing insanely hard because it was the funniest thing I had ever seen happen on that farm. I was like, these animals are crazy. Like, that's it. They're nuts. They are absolutely nuts. But yeah, that was one of the best things I had ever seen on that farm. Was that experience. And I wished I wasn't the only person out there because it needed to be shared. It was too much. Oh, it's really hard to get these edges. Or maybe not. Yeah, you learn a lot about animals when you live on a farm. Animals are very weird. They are extremely strange. I didn't even clean that side. How did... You know what? I'm not even going to complain. They just made my job easier. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah, animals on farms. Very, very interesting. I think when you grow up, you know, not on a farm, you don't realize how much personality farm animals have. Because your experience is usually farm animals are for food, and you don't really think about them having personalities because, you know, you don't want to think about, oh yeah, this is Jim Bob, the chicken, and he's really funny because he likes to get up every morning and jump on the top of the chicken coop and do this weird thing every morning, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, they all have personalities. Like, they all do weird stuff. And, I don't know. It kind of gets hard after a while. At some point, you're like, I can't eat this animal. It's funny. I can't do that to this cute little fluffy animal. They're entertaining. You start thinking of them like you have to train yourself to not think of them as pets because they're not going to be there forever, and if you get too attached, it's tragic. So, yeah. I'm not big on eating lamb, partially because of that experience, not because they're treated badly. Like on Human Brothers Farm, those sheep have a nice life. Like, this is not like a corporate farm where they put animals in stalls and they live these miserable lives where they never get to be outside. Oh, hi, Mac. How you doing? It's good to see you. Pressing the wrong buttons again. But, yeah, on a farm, like, you really... I don't know, like, you really appreciate animals, and when they're raised on a farm where they're treated well, like, you know they have a good life. Corporate farms are scary. I don't think they should even be called farms. They should be called factories, because they don't treat those animals well at all. But yeah, a nice little family farm, like, those animals have good lives. Okay, let's see. Okay. Wait. I thought I saw something. No. Okay. trying to think of other farm stories, if there's anything funny or interesting. But I'm not sure if I have very many more farm stories. Other than it's an interesting experience. I'm glad I had the experience. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd really necessarily want to start my own farm. It's hard work. It is very hard work, and it is not just full-time work. It is 24/7 work. You don't really get time off when you have a farm. And like if you want to go on vacation, you better know other people who are good farm workers who can actually run the farm for you while you take vacation. Because otherwise it's your life. Your life is completely about the farm. That's just what it is. Now let's see if I can move this. Here, I'll move it here. There. Yeah, it's when you run a farm, it's not just a job, it is a life. It's all you do. It's good experience. Like, it teaches you a lot about yourself and your self-discipline. But yeah, I think it's a life for people who have a certain kind of you have to be willing to stick to things. You can't just be casual about stuff. If you decide to start a farm, you have to know that that's what you want to do, and you have to be the kind of person who will work your butt off to do that kind of work. Otherwise, like, no, you're not going to survive it. Like, for me, one of the things that I noticed when I was on the farm is that when you've worked on a farm long enough, the dirt gets so caked under your fingernails that it won't wash off. Like, it stays there. You can soak your hand for, in water, and the dirt still won't come out. And I swear, after I stopped working on the farm, it took me at least a couple months before the dirt was gone from underneath my fingernails. And that was even with me. I was wearing gloves, especially because of the turkeys. I had to wear gloves because otherwise they would completely destroy my hands. It's hard work, and you have to be ready to do it. I would say I am definitely happy to be more academic and work in a doctor's office. I think it's actually, there are ways in which it is actually easier to work at a doctor's office than it is on a farm. Yeah, it's a cushier job. It's still hard because you're dealing with people's health. But yeah, I would say, in my experience, working on a farm is harder than working in a doctor's office. Plus, at the doctor's office, you hear weird stories about how people have demons in their houses. That's always fun. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to having a few days off at the Dragon Clinic because I need it. I need sleep. I have not been sleeping enough lately. I'm very tired, And, you know, it's not always easy when you have, you know, you're taking care of human mother who's, you know, she's not young anymore and she needs a lot of support. And sometimes she forgets things, so, you know, she'll call me on the phone when it's not a convenient time. If you ever notice during streams sometimes and my phone goes off, I will answer it because usually it's human mother. I would say 99% of the time it's human mother because she likes talking on the phone. But yeah, I don't like to leave her hanging because, you know, it's hard for her, especially because she has some health problems. So I want to make sure I'm looking out for her. You know, we don't always get great family members, but sometimes we do, you know. Sometimes we look out and we have family who we actually really love and care about a lot. And human mother is definitely that kind of family member because she is so kind and so sweet and so lovely. But sometimes she needs a little help, and, you know, I'm here for a reason. That's to help her out sometimes, so. And I happily do it. Even if it's sometimes not convenient for me, sometimes I complain a little bit, but, you know, I'm happy to help her. You know, I try not to talk too much about things outside of my own experience as a VTuber. Every once in a while I'll see people post something about how their family isn't supportive of them. And, you know, I consider myself incredibly lucky that I have human mother because she supports everything I do. And I'm so grateful to her for just being like my number one cheerleader. Like, she is my number one fan, and she will say that, and she acts like that, and it's clear. She always wants to know what I'm doing, and she's always asking questions. Oh, so how does this work? How does that work? Even if she doesn't understand it, she's going to ask me questions. And it's just really sweet of her. She wants to support me as much as she can. But she also forgets when I'm streaming pretty easily. So, you know, she'll knock on my door and come in my room and be like, blah, 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 blah. And she'd be like, oh, are you streaming? And I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. There are worse things that can happen. I'd rather human mother come in and interrupt a stream than, you know, other things happen. Because I've heard stories and you don't want people who are going to cause you problems to, you know, interrupt your stream. Human mother interrupting, not a problem. I actually had dinner with human mother and human nephew recently. Well, oldest human nephew. I actually have two human nephews, a human niece, and then two step human nephews. And oldest human nephew is in college. And I was very tempted to ask him if he wanted to join me in a stream someday. I'm not sure if he would or not. He's kind of persnickety about certain things, but he likes to play video games. So it could actually be really fun to have him join in and do a collab. He doesn't stream himself, though. But I don't know. It could be fun. Maybe I can convince him. Maybe I can get like a little inexpensive model and teach him how to use OBS and everything. And then have him just come and join my stream. That would be really fun. And really funny, I think. He's hilarious. He'd either say a lot of... Oh my gosh, that was quick. Alright. Oh my gosh, look how much I made. Ugh. I made so much money. I am so awesome. Perfect. Wonderful. We did such a good job. Look at this. Look at that house. Look at what a good job. And it's... Oh, and look. The gnome stopped by to approve. Hello, friend. I wonder if there are any other gnomes around. Let's see. Nope. Not over there. Not in there. I guess there's just one gnome. No. Okay. I think we're done. Can we... I guess we just press escape. Okay. It is so much cleaner. And I told you, didn't I say, that is a cute little house. Like that is a nice little house. It was just dirty. I mean, sometimes people, they'll be like, oh, we have to paint the house. It looks so bad. And it's like, get it power washed first. Seriously, it might be fine. All right, so Calvin Miller says, the bungalow looks amazing, Doc. Thank you. You won't believe the impact it's had. Ma's down the woods picking flowers, and Pops is muttering excitedly about another job he's got for you. So if you hear from a Leonard Miller, that will be him. All right. Nice. Okay, so there's 2 more jobs. I don't think I'm going to do the playground. I'm sure that's going to take a long time. The dirt bike one, though, we might have time for the dirt bike. I think we should do the dirt bike. Okay. Oh my gosh, his name is Joe Average. Joe Average. Alright, there's got to be something up with my dirt bike. You see, I'm one of life's winners. You're average, Joe Average. Every morning I put 4 slices of bread in the toaster, but only eat the slice that pops up first. That's weird and wasteful. When I have a coffee, I only drink the bit that wins the race in my mouth. But on this bike, I always finish dead last. I'm wondering if there's mud stuck to the manifest or whatever it is, slowing me down. I'm also kind of superstitious, so I haven't cleaned the thing in over 15 years. 15 years, guys. What? Clean your bike. Thanks. Dude, no. This guy has issues, I think. Okay. Let's see, I can select. I have no soap. My nozzles? Really? No wonder Joe is an average. Yeah, seriously. I did buy an extension. I needed it to clean Croft Manor. But I don't think we'll need that for this job. Okay. There is an ad break starting in a moment. I think what I'll do is I'll just do this real quick. Just do a quick rinse off. It'll get most of it done. Okay, let's see what we have. Yeah, this is, All right. We're going to do ad break. So, grab a snack. Have a stretch. Run to the bathroom. And we'll start in a moment. There we go. Knapsville Best Kept Garden. There he is. Lost cat Ulysses. Very fluffy. Please call. Royal blue. Peach plum. Golden dawn. Toilet tissue. Bigfoot strikes again. More toilet paper. Okay. So it looks like the ad break has ended. So I'm thinking this is a post-COVID or post-lockdown situation. Because look at all this toilet paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody needs that much. And somebody got really into tabloids because there's a newspaper here that says Bigfoot strikes again. Interesting. Interesting. Bigfoot. Good job, dude. And somebody in this house, apparently, is the Knapsville Best Kept Garden 1996. Interesting. Okay, let's see what we can do with this thing. da, 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 da. Okay. I have never been dirt bike riding. You know, I mean, it's kind of pointless. If I want to speed around, I'm a dragon, I have wings. I can fly. I don't need a dirt bike. But here's the thing. Okay, look, that dirt bike was disgusting, but look. This bike is pristine. Why would you let the fancier bike become a total mess, then keep, you know, the regular bike all nice and pretty? Like, come on. Take pride. Take care of your stuff, man. Don't let it get dirty for, like, you know, 15 years. Alright, this is 92% cleaned right now. I think I'm going to have to get down on the ground. Let's see. Okay. Oh, look. You guys, look. See the spelling right there? This, I think this is... It's definitely... This game is definitely made in Europe, I think. If not England. Because they spell tire with a Y in British English, so... Very interesting. Wow, I am almost done with this already. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we've got, right, the engine is dirty, the swing arm. Right, we're gonna have to get further down on the floor. Okay, so something's up with the swing arm. Not there. Engine. Okay, spoke sets, front fender, back away, so yeah, I'm trying to decide what I should see first. If I should see Moana 2 first, or if I should see Wicked first. The reason why I'm being so specific about that is, you know, I'm trying to be thoughtful about how I spend money. Okay, I guess we're just done then. Cool. That was fast. That took all of, like, you know, 10 minutes maybe. Okay. Interesting. Clean as an egg, you're a legend, and nothing can stop me now. You would think they would make that a little harder if it was 15 years of grime. I don't know. Not too short either. Yeah, true. Messages. Okay. So I guess the playground is the last one left. I'm not sure if I want to start that. Okay, there's bonus jobs. So there's odd jobs. Clean the food truck, solar station, and satellite dish. Then excavator, paintball area, and Spanish villa. Ooh. Spanish villa sounds cool. Submarine and aquarium. Modern mansion and fire plane. And then cancel. Let's not go to the Steam store right now. And then free play is just revisiting places you've already cleaned. And vehicles, we've already done those. Okay. And challenge mode.
Ring a bonbon just followed.
Oh, thank you so much for the follow. It's really good to have you here. All right, in challenge mode. Oh, you can do it. You have to. It's timed or with a water limit. Interesting. Okay. I was wondering if they had that option. If you could do like a water limit. It seems like it made sense to me that they would have something like that. Okay. So, I did look at, so here's what I did. I did the, I did the Croft Manor one. And that was excruciatingly hard. And there were a lot of comments. See, she went to Egypt. The comment here says, everything is done and dusted over here in Egypt. And I'll be back in England to see your handiwork very soon. So, yeah. Cousin Lara Croft brought me back a mummy. All right. I kind of like that some of these, like, extra ones are actually free. I am very tempted. Like, I would love to do the Back to the Future one. I don't know if they have here. I don't know what buildings they have in it, but that would be really fun. I was actually looking at a picture today from like a movie still from Back to the Future, the first movie, and they showed what Doc Bennett's house looked like, and it actually was a really cool house. Seasonal specials. Halloween house. Cruise ship Sundeck. Santa's workshop. Maybe we'll do the Santa's workshop as we get closer to Halloween. Or not Halloween, Christmas. We already had Halloween. Okay. Should I share with you guys my goofy surprise that I set up for Christmas now? Or should I wait until after Thanksgiving? Because I've been debating it. I've been trying to think when is a good time. Because usually, I'm the kind of person who's like, let's wait until after Thanksgiving to do all the Christmas stuff. But I'm also kind of excited about maybe showing you guys the funny thing I got. The funny thing I set up for you guys. I think it's hilarious. I spent a lot of time on it. After Thanksgiving would be better. You know, I am inclined to agree. We can do that Friday then. We can do that Friday. I think that would be a good idea. It's really silly. I think you guys will enjoy it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you. I think it's so funny. But, you know what? Why don't we just close off for tonight? I actually have a lot of baking to do tomorrow. And I need to get my baking done for the cheesecake before Human Mother gets her baking done because she wants to make pumpkin pie. So your anticipation is high now. Oh, it's goofy. It's very silly and very goofy. So yeah, I want to make sure I wake up early enough in the morning so I can get my cheesecake made before Human Mother takes over the kitchen. So I don't want to stay up too much later than this. So let's switch back to just chatting. There we go. I am going to close out the game. And let's see. Let's find somebody to raid. Who should we raid? Alright, let's see. Who's streaming right now? Okay. Alright, so Elsie. You know what? We could go back and raid Cast Iron Cat because he raided us earlier. That's an option. He's doing VR chat. No, I don't know what they're doing. Archivist Emmy is doing Final Fantasy 14. Caden Jensen is doing Fatty Bear's birthday. Hayden is doing Squirrel with a Gun. Hayden is such a goof. I love watching his streams. Spooky Cat Kevin is Dead by Daylight. And I think most everybody else has a lot of people watching them. I always try to get the people who don't have as many viewers. So, maybe we should just go back and raid Cast Iron Cat. I think that would be a really good idea. He raided us, we raid him. It's fair. It is perfect, it is fair, so let's do that. Alright, so I'm going to set that up. Raid channel. Yeah. Okay, so... And he has a new model, too. He has a 2.0 model, so, you know, give his model some compliments. Because it actually does look really good. He has a cool jacket. Alright, so have a good night, everybody. I am going to go to the end screen. And I will see you. Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you again for this game. I'm having such a blast with it. So, yeah. So I will see you guys on tomorrow. Wednesday is tomorrow. And I will be streaming with Panda at, I think we decided to start at 5. So we'll be starting earlier than usual. Yeah, you take care too, Gaspin. I hope all of you have a wonderful next couple days. I will see you guys either on tomorrow for Frostpunk or Friday for Final Fantasy again. And yeah, hopefully my cheesecake will turn out well. And I'll let you guys know if it turned out well. All right, so let's go to the end screen and let's go say hi to Cast Iron Cat. Have a good night.